Look how gorgeous it is outside, and this wonderful weather will continue into the weekend. It's going to inspire a lot of you to hop on those two wheels and hit the road. But before you do, CHP wants to make sure that you are safe with their Have a Good Ride campaign. Here to explain more, we have Sergeant Oliveros. And Sergeant, help our viewers understand, what is the #1 reason why motorcyclists actually get pulled over?
Well, we're always going to focus on the 3 primary collision factors. Will end up being speed, improper turning, whether it's unsafe lane change or changing from one street to another, making that movement, or 3, which would end up being DUI.
Okay.
Most of the time ends up being speed, and then most of those enforcement contacts, we find out that the riders aren't properly licensed.
Okay, and those situations could actually be leading to an increase in motorcycle-involved accidents throughout the state of California, right?
Correct, which is why it's so important for those who are going to ride a motorcycle that they're properly trained and properly licensed. Also wearing the proper equipment. So if they're able to go to CaliforniaMotorcyclist.com, they'd be able to partake or participate in our California Motorcyclist Safety Program to be able to learn how to avoid a collision or how to the laws that pertains to riding a motorcycle.
Okay, so they need to be very aware of what it's required to handle a vehicle like this. I made a joke off air that I rode this to work today, which I obviously did not. This is our friend Aaron, so thank you so much for letting us use this. But this is a large vehicle. This thing is heavy, right?
Right.
Around anywhere from 500 to 700 pounds. You need to know how to handle something like this.
Absolutely. And on top of that, I mean, you could notice, though, it is a big bike. However, we have some of the smaller bikes. And then compared to an actual vehicle, they're smaller. So it's going to be harder for those people who are riding regular vehicles to be able to see this coming down the road. So it's always important for them to look twice before making that lane change.
Especially when you're talking about lane splitting, which is another rule of the road that we all on the road need to be aware of. But I want to talk about how the CHP Good Ride Grant, Have a Good Ride Grant, has helped to really reduce the number of motorcycle accidents.
Well, it's a grant provided through the Office of Traffic Safety, which allows us to have more officers on the road and also be able to participate with the local media to be able to provide more information for those who plan to ride or those who are in a vehicle to realize that they're out there.
Okay, and I know that you had mentioned, you know, off the top that some of the primary causes of the accident would be, you're saying driving under the influence, speed, and likely not being aware of many of the rules of the road, but also having your safety helmet on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is huge. This is required by law to wear a DOT compliant helmet. Basically what it states is if a rider or a passenger are going to be on a motorcycle, they're required to have one that's DOT compliant. And the easiest way to tell is they'll have a DOT sticker in the back. But we could see here the difference between what we refer to as a novelty helmet.
Whoa.
The difference in safety, right?
Okay.
So a DOT compliant helmet requires that it has a hard outer shell to prevent any objects from penetrating the helmet. No rigid projections from the helmet. Have what we refer to as the impact attenuator here, where we could see where the force from an impact, if the rider is involved in a collision, will dissipate here rather than transferring directly to the rider's head.
Okay.
Also, it's required to have a good, secure system to keep that helmet in place. We can see very easily the differences between the novelty helmet here, right? The shell, very brittle, very not very hard.
There's barely any foam. I think I see that in toy packaging.
Yeah, absolutely. And this foam here is not an impact attenuator.
No.
That force is going to go directly to the rider's head. And also the strap, very weak,
loose.
will not keep that this on the rider's head.
I mean, you're flying down the road at extremely high speeds. You need something that's going to keep that very secure to your head, like you had mentioned. And it does not take an expert to take a look at both of those helmets and see the drastic difference between, you know, what's going to protect somebody as they are exposed on the roadway at high speeds and they happen to get into a collision. I mean, I know the novelty helmets tend to be cool, if you will, to some, but I mean, really, is your life worth fashion, especially when it could lead to you not being protected the way you need to be?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, for everybody who rides a bike, they'll tell you it's fun, right? But let's just remember that let's do it in a safe manner so that everybody gets home safely.
And Sergeant, I'm noticing too on this helmet here where it says impact with the arrows. What type of impact would you say could result in or collision would you say could result in an impact like that?
Well, you know, we're able to participate with the Snell company who's here locally, that they're able to test these helmets. And what they do is they basically they'll have a flat anvil and a round one to be able to simulate the impact from either an object, which could be the handlebars if you're involved in a collision, so you can see it won't penetrate the helmet, or as well as a flat surface like the roadway, and you'll be able to see how that impact or that force gets dissipated through the impact attenuator rather than transferring that whole
I think this is
entire
a
force.
great description too of how when someone collides and the helmet itself doesn't really look like it's dented, but that there still was enough force to cause some serious impact in there, and that would then be relayed to somebody's head, right? So the helmet on the outside looks okay, but you take a look at that the cushion in the middle. I mean, that's a severe difference.
Right, absolutely. This would result from a very severe collision.
Yeah.
As you can see, most of the impact is absorbed in this area here.
Yeah. So DOT helmet, make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you have that, as mentioned, certified on the back. Sergeant, tell our viewers, where can they go so they can take these lessons, they can take these classes, they can be more aware, they can be safe?
So again, our California Motorcyclist Safety Program, they were able to go to the website californiamotorcyclist.com, be able to find out where classes are being held, what dates, and they're always being held throughout the year and throughout the state.
Excellent. Sergeant Oliveros, thank you so much. I know
Thank
a
you.
lot of people are going to be hitting the road. The weather's getting great out there. You're going to want to hop onto your bikes. We want you to be safe when you do so, especially as you head out to community events.
This interview involves commercial content. The products and services featured appear as paid advertising.